Starting with a brief history of the two clubs, Bristol Rovers were founded in 1883, so they're older than Bristol City. They were initially called Black Arabs Football Club. They later changed their name to Eastville Rovers, then Bristol Eastville Rovers, and then finally Bristol Rovers. The club currently play in League One. Bristol City were founded in 1894, although I think some Bristol Rovers fans would probably disagree with that. They were initially called Bristol Southend, and then 3 years later they renamed themselves Bristol City to what they are this day. The club currently play in the Championship. The first official meeting between these two clubs occurred in the Gloucestershire Senior Challenge Cup on the 25th of January 1896. At the time it was Eastville Rovers against Bristol Southend, and Eastville Rovers won this match 4-0. It was reported in the papers at the time that the match was a quite heated affair, and on 2 or 3 occasions the referee had to remind both sets of players that it was not a boxing match, it was actually a football game. The following year the two clubs would meet in the league for the first ever time. This is when they played in the Western League, and Bristol City, or Bristol Southend as they were known then, won the match 2-0. Like a lot of other football derbies in England, this derby in the past has been plagued by hooliganism. There was a nasty incident in December 1996 when there was a pitch invasion by both sets of fans, and it was claimed by Bristol Rovers fans that Bristol City fans attacked Bristol Rovers players on the pitch. Going through the history of the derby, the two clubs would play each other quite regular. It was almost season after season that the two clubs would meet, especially in the Gloucestershire Challenge Cup, or Senior Cup as it was called. It's only been the last 20 to 25 years where the meetings between the two sides have occurred a lot less frequently, because Bristol City have been in a higher division to Bristol Rovers. And what I also mean by this is that the last time that these two clubs met in a competitive football match was on the 4th of September 2013, so almost 12 years ago, and this was in the Football League Trophy at the time. Bristol City would win this game 2-1 at Ashton Gate. The match was shown live on Sky Sports, but it was overshadowed by a post-match pitch invasion by a number of Bristol City supporters, leading to 60 arrests being made, and 3 police officers were also injured. On top of the pitch invasion, there was also 50 seats torn up at Ashton Gate by both sets of supporters. I think what made this match so heated, looking back at it through the history of this derby, is the fact that there was a 6-year gap between this last match and then the one in 2007, which was also in the Football League Trophy. And then before that there was another 5-year gap where Bristol City defeated Bristol Rovers 3-0, and that was also in the Football League Trophy. So in the last 24 years there's only been 3 meetings between the two clubs, and obviously when two teams that hate each other don't play each other for a while, when things actually come together and they play, this type of trouble occurs. Looking at the all-time meetings between the two clubs, there's been 232 meetings in total. Bristol City have the most wins with 105, Bristol Rovers 65 wins, and there's been 62 draws. The largest victory in the derby has been achieved by Bristol City on 3 occasions, where they've defeated Bristol Rovers 5-0. The most goals scored in a single game between both of these rivals has been achieved on 2 occasions, where it's been a total of 8 goals scored in the match. The first one was 4-4, that was in 1939-1940, and then there was a match in 1956 where Bristol City defeated Bristol Rovers 5-3. The longest unbeaten streak in the derby also goes to Bristol City. Between 1975 to 1981 they won 10 matches in a row against Bristol Rovers. There's been a few players that have played for both clubs in Bristol throughout this derby, and some of them you might know if you're a Bristol City or Bristol Rovers fan. Peter Hooper, Trevor Jacobs, Ray Cashley, Donny Giles, Terry Cooper, Brian Williams, Trevor Morgan, Peter Beadle. Some of them players have played for both Bristol City and Bristol Rovers. And in terms of managers, there's been 4 managers who have both managed Bristol City and Rovers. Joe Palmer, Fred Ford, Terry Cooper and John Ward. They've all managed both Bristol City and Bristol Rovers. Now, according to an online poll that was done over 15 years ago, the Bristol Derby is the 8th fiercest derby in English football, and in some ways I'd have to agree, because just in a small way, sometimes I post some of my content on Facebook, whether it be Bristol Rovers or Bristol City stuff, and I post it to football pages, and 9 times out of 10 it always gets taken down by the administrators, because either the Bristol City fans get on there and it's just all hate and vitriol, or it's Bristol Rovers fans when I post a Bristol City thing. Especially when it comes to the foundation date of Bristol City, them posts always get removed. The next time that Bristol City and Bristol Rovers play, I don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to be a really fierce match, I tell you. But I don't think it's going to happen for a while, because Bristol City are in the Championship, Bristol Rovers are in League One, and Bristol City don't look like they're going to get relegated anytime soon, and Bristol Rovers don't look like they're going to get promoted to the Championship. So I think it's going to be a couple more years before we see a potential Bristol Derby again. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comment section below. Sorry for the lack of pictures in the video. I couldn't really find too many good quality pictures, but I hope the content was good enough that you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the Bristol Derby, and if you're a Bristol City or Bristol Rovers fan, let me know your thoughts on this derby. Anyways, this has been History of Football, and I'll catch us all later in the next one. Alright, ta-ra for now.